Thank you very much. Thank you for joining, even during lunchtime. This is great. Just a couple words about myself. Thanks you already for the introduction from Laurent. I spent 12 years in the cosmetics industry, 3 years in watches, 10 years in jewelry, and I was on the B2C brand side. I was working for retailers, I was working for B2B companies, so I know the spectrum and I know where you're coming from, wherever you are coming from. I started consulting a couple of years ago. Currently I'm working also with Les Ambassadeurs, and we are creating our own jewelry brand, and this is actually a project where we go through exactly this exercise what we're going to present here. What are the goals of the presentation? First, I would like you to understand why branding is so important today in the jewelry market. Then I would like you to know the key elements of a strong brand. And then I would like you to know the process of building a brand that shines in the marketplace. First of all, let's go to the very origin of brand management. Where does it come from? It started maybe 1870s, 1880s in the US, where people start to brand their cows, their cattle. Yeah? And that's where the term brand management is coming from. And then, of course, some farmers were better breeders and they had better cattle, and then the brand of these cattle, they had a higher value than other brands. Then, it started in 1900. A chemist in the US, made a soap, and he had a little production issue. He had a little bit more oxygen in the soap, and suddenly this soap would float in the water. And it was the first floating soap. And they call it Ivory. It's from Procter & Gamble. And they then started to advertise that. They have the first floating soap. And they started to add some nice flavors to it, or aromas, and they were able to sell that soap way more expensive than normal soap. So that was then actually the birth of brand management. Later on in the 1920s and 1930s, P&G started to advertise these soaps in radio programs and later on in TV programs. They even created shows where they could place the soap. And that's the origin of the soap opera. So if we talk about soap operas today, that's where it's coming from. So what is a brand? A brand is the unique identity and perception of a company, a product, or a service shaped by its name, design, values, messaging, and customer experience. It represents how a business differentiates itself from competitors and builds emotional connections with the audience. That's very important, emotional connection. And here we are in the jewelry industry, and it's all about emotion. So you want to build this emotional connection. It's even more important here than maybe when you talk about soaps, where it's more about a technical benefit. Here we talk about emotional benefits. So then what is brand management? Brand management is the process of creating, maintaining, and improving a brand's perception, the value and reputation in the market. And it's a process. You have to really always foster that. It involves strategic planning and execution to ensure consistency in the messaging. It needs to be very concise and consistent. And then the customer experience and the brand identity need to be, experienced across all touchpoints. Very important. So the question is, why should you develop a brand? It doesn't matter if you're now a B2B company, or if you're a retailer, or if you're a B2C company. Overall, the jewelry market is growing rapidly and moving rapidly into branded jewelry. And it's actually pretty much the last category in the world who is doing so. Here's a chart from McKinsey, and it shows that in 2003, about only 10% of the jewelry market was branded. Everything else was non-branded. Also here, the halls didn't have so many brands. It was just non-branded jewelry. Then this chart is from 2011. Back then, it was 20% of the jewelry was branded. And they predicted by 2020, it would be 30 to 40%. Actually, it's even higher. If you go to the big cities today, 80, 90, maybe 100% of the jewelry is branded. If you go to London, go to Paris, it's all branded jewelry. So you have to think of creating your own brand to really make it also long-term. So here's this evolving jewelry landscape. You have Fifth Avenue with, of course, many fancy doors. You have old heritage brands like Tiffany, like Cartier, Van Cleef, Harry Winston, Chopard. You have fashion brands that are moving into jewelry, Louis Vuitton, Chanel, Dior. You have growing Place Vendôme or big group brands like Chaumet, Pomellato, Piaget. You have fast-growing brands like Messika, Medjugorje, Pandora, 4,000 doors by now, hardly existing 20 years ago. And you have lots of upcoming brands that you can discover here in the fair, like Braun, Pasquale Bruni, Anna Maria Camilli, Nanis, Schaffrath, Gellner. All these companies are moving into branding. Why should a retailer develop its own jewelry brand? I mean, today more and more retailers have just started to also list brands in their assortment. Everybody has 4, 5, 6 brands in their assortment. And on the side, maybe they have 1 or 2 items that they have done by themselves. But it's important that they also create their own brand. It's a crucial success factor for today's retailers, because it offers a balance between your own brand and the brands that you have in your assortment. And a strong own brand combined with well-known labels creates customer loyalty and differentiation. Anyone who maintains this balance reacts flexibly to market changes and emerges stronger from the changes in the luxury industry. So we are in this very dynamic environment, and if you create your own brand, you create a higher customer retention. So why should a B2B company become a brand? It's also not very obvious. You think B2B is all logic, it's just about the product and the price? No, it's not. Because branding isn't just for B2C business. It plays a crucial role in long-term growth, differentiation, and customer loyalty, also in the B2B world. It differentiates you versus other companies. If you have just a B2B product and you have all the good marketing around, it is perceived more and you create more emotional bond than your competition. You build trust and credibility. You increase customer loyalty and retention. You support a higher pricing. I just give one example, Intel Inside. Intel is a B2B company, but if it's Intel Inside, you kind of feel like, oh wow, yeah, it's good. This computer is good. And also for you as a B2B company, it helps with talent acquisition, very important nowadays, where everybody's struggling to get the right talent. We call that employer branding. And also in B2B buying, if you're actually really true to yourself, it's not just only the price and the product. The relationship that you have with your B2B customers or companies is also important. It's also, the buying decision is influenced by emotions, and creating the brand around plays a role. What I like to do with my customers is really build the brand pyramid for their brand. I think this is the base tool, and this is how it looks. First, you have to see what is the brand vision and vision of your company or of your brand. Where do you want to be in 5 years and 10 years? What is your brand all about? Then, of course, the corporate identity, corporate design. What is your logo? What is your name? What's the design language of your collections? Brand positioning. What's the price level your products are being displayed? What materials do you use? We'll talk more about that. The brand pillars. What is your offering? Some companies here in the hall focus only on diamonds, like Schaffrath. Others only on pearls, like Gellner. Some have all of the above. So you have to be precise what you want to offer. Then the brand personality. A brand is in the end like a person. It stands for something. It has certain adjectives that are linked to the brand. Which adjectives would you like to have your brand linked to? What shall the consumers of your brand think? We'll talk also more about that. Then the value proposition. What are the unique benefits of your brand, of your product? What is the quality you offer? What is the service you offer? The brand promise. What is the commitment from you as a company, from your brand to the customers? What can they consistently expect from your brand? What is the customer experience that you offer? And then, and we'll talk more about that too, very important, the brand essence. What is the core of the brand in a nutshell? What does your brand really stand for? We'll have some examples. First, corporate design. Yes, you know, logo and colors play an important role. Some companies you can tell immediately just from the color or from the logo. And of course, it's very important to create iconic products. Products that customers immediately bring in their mind in connection with your own brand. Yeah, you have your pomelato with the nudo and so on. If you can achieve to have a collection that is very unique, bingo. Brand positioning. Very important to have a clear positioning, and in the past it was all about very clear brand positioning. You have a very clear material and price point, and that's what traditionally has always been the place, how you say, the way it went on. But nowadays, it's changing. I see suddenly lots of established brands and mainly also new brands that have a mix. Some examples you know already. Tiffany, for instance, they have always had silver jewelry and 18-karat real diamond jewelry. You can buy a Tiffany product for 200 euros, but you can also pay more than 200,000. You have Louis Vuitton. I was just in Paris 2 weeks ago, went in the Louis Vuitton store, and I was surprised when I looked at the jewelry. Wow, they have also pieces for 500 euros. And then I asked, is this silver jewelry? No, it's only brass. Yeah? But they're not afraid as a luxury brand to produce brass jewelry and offer it at a low price point. Then you have these upcoming brands like Mejuri, and they start to mix natural diamonds and lab-grown diamonds. A huge topic last night here, well, how can we differentiate the diamonds, and should it be only this or that? A lot of brands start to have both. Also Blue Nile, a big retailer focusing on engagement rings, has 14-karat gold and platinum lab-grown and natural diamonds, and a huge range of price points. And it's not only the US, we had that in the Nordic countries where Georg Jensen and Ole Lingard both have also silver lines. Also here in Germany, we have new upcoming brands like Veinu, who is mainly happening online. They have 14-karat and 18-karat gold, and then lab-grown diamonds, and a wide price range. Puka is here in the Hall A2, I think. They offer 14-karat to 18-karat gold. They also have mermaid, they have platinum, they have it all. Yeah? They mix it with lab-grown diamonds and have a huge price range. So I think it's not so much set in stone anymore how you position. You can have a very clear positioning, but maybe the consumer starts to be more open, and as a brand you can also be more open. Then the brand personality. And here I sometimes like to do an exercise with the clients, which is the limbic map. And the limbic map is actually from a guy, Hans-Georg Heusel. He's a psychologist. This is now in German, but it's easy to translate. On top you have adventure thrill, brands that are playing in adventure thrill. And maybe Red Bull is the best example, yeah? They are all about adventure and thrill, yeah? Dominance, brands that are about power, about being the best, about victory, about, status. Then you have brands that are in the discipline and control field. Often B2B brands are there. It's all about the right price, good quality, just have an order in the system and everything. Then you're in the balance area where it's more about family, about trust, about security. Yeah? Then you go over to fantasy and enjoyment. It can have nature in there, sensuality, flexibility, a whole new environment. And you move on to stimulating products where you have poetic, fantasy, and so on. And if we now play the game with some brands or place some brands. You know, Adventure Thrill, I would place Thomas Sabo, for instance, with Rebel at Heart. They are, you know, really putting, when you look at rebellion, you know, they're kind of rebellious brand. I think it's also quite rebellious to have like jewelry with Haribo bears. You know, it's a crazy idea to do it, so it's quite rebellious. Dominance, elite, status, I would place Cartier, for instance. Yeah? Then in the discipline control field, honestly, I couldn't really find of a jewelry brand. It's probably B2B businesses. I chose a watch brand, Nomos, German watch brand with very clear designs and very reduced to the max, plays in this field. Balance with family and tradition, Wellendorf. They're all about family and love. When you go more in towards nature, maybe Ole Lingard. You go more into poetic and sensuality, into dreams. You are with Van Cleef & Arpels. And then in the stimulants area might be Fred, the sunshine jeweler. And if it becomes more extravagant, you're with Repossi. So each brand can be placed somewhere, and you want to make the exercise, where do you want to place my brand? What are the connotations, you know, that I want to link my brand with? What shall the consumers think of my brand? And then you want to summarize it all in the brand essence. What is the brand essence? It's the core intangible attribute that defines a brand's fundamental character, purpose, and unique value in a concise and emotionally resonant way. I always have this word emotionally in it, especially in the jewelry industry, very important. It is the soul of the brand, encapsulated in a few words that reflect what the brand stands for beyond its products or services. And I want to give you a few examples of brands that I have worked for and worked with. What I mean with this brand essence, which has nothing to do just with the product, it's really the feeling, the core of the brand. Tamara Kamali, I don't know if you know the brand, I don't know if you know her. Fantastic lady, very strong business lady. And when you see her, she has ripped jeans, she walks with her flip-flops, but she wears beautiful jewelry. And so when we moved the brand from the focus just from her on to the feeling, yeah, we had this new campaign with Carrie Murphy, and we had the brand essence of barefoot luxury. That's what Tamara Kamali is all about. It's jewelry that is beautiful, it has a high value, but it makes you feel relaxed, like you're walking on the beach in your flip-flops. Yeah? This is the whole environment, and the company is located at Tegernsee, so it all fits together. Yeah? And you have little drops that are in the jewelry and so on. So it's just everything they do is about barefoot luxury. Then Binder, just here in the hall, when we started the brand, we defined the brand essence as precious connections. And it's precious connections. Binder is producing chains. They're actually a B2B company at origin, producing chains. And we said, okay, precious connections, just like from the links from the chain, is a precious connection. But then also a precious connection between the product and the person wearing it. But then it can also be a precious connection between two people. The person that offers you the jewelry can be two girlfriends. It can be the mom and the daughter. It can be husband and wife, boyfriend and girlfriend. Yeah? And any variation of it you want to have. So, and here's the jeweler with it who won the design award 2 years ago. When we talk about iconic collections, that's their iconic collection. Yeah? So maybe you feel it, the precious connection here in this. Then Wellendorf, wahre Werte, genuine values. It's all about family, it's all about craftsmanship, and they play it really, really strongly and really well. And the product that goes along. And then the last example, Fred, French company, the Sunshine Jeweler. This is the world they create. And this is the product, and you see the product shot with light shining on the piece. It gives you a completely different atmosphere. And it's important that your jewelry is just not just a brand name and the piece, that it's really like portraying an emotion, yeah? That it creates a world that your consumers can indulge in, that they can feel connected. And if you do it well, in the end, it's a love brand. Some customers will love you and your brand because you do that, because they really resonate well with that environment that you have portrayed with your brand. Then, of course, you also have to have your target consumer in mind. You have to do the exercise. Who are we talking to? You know, is it just this lady? Is it more someone from Asia? Is it someone from Europe? Is it a younger lady, an older lady? It can be everything. Who is she here? Who are we talking to? Pick one or two persons and then really have her in mind in everything you do. Yeah? And do it for her, that she feels really resonated and she receives the message of your brand essence. You know, the exercise with the persona, you want to describe her very, very precisely. What does she do? Which brands does she like to wear? What media does she consume? Where does she get her information from? Yeah? Which blogs does she follow? What's her work? Where does she live? All these details. And you just want to have that in mind and say, okay, I need to speak to this person and she needs to understand what we want to say and she needs to feel it. That's the most important. So the process to success that I like to do with my clients, first, clarification of the mission and the goals. Yeah? What is the exercise? And of course also, what is the mission of the brand, the company? Where do you want to be in 5 years or in 10 years? What's your vision? Then make a thorough status analysis. Make a SWOT analysis. What are your strengths today? What are your weaknesses today? What are the opportunities out in the marketplace? What are the threats that you see? Yeah? Strength and weakness is internal. Opportunities and threats are external. And then you can start to mix and match. You can say, okay, we have a strength and we have an opportunity. Here we can attack. We have a weakness and a threat. Oh, wow, we got to be careful. Yeah? So you can decide what you have to do. You make a thorough market analysis. What's happening in the market? Just like I said now, okay, consumers are starting to be more open for lab-grown diamonds, real diamonds, the different mix of materials. What's happening? Competitor analysis. Who do you see as your competitors? How can you differentiate yourself from the competitors? Don't imitate, differentiate. Assortment analysis. Do you already have products in your assortment that are having the potential to be an iconic brand, that stand out, that people, when they see them, can immediately say, this is this brand, this is this company, or not? If not, if you have more of, Me Too product, maybe you have to start design product that really speaks to the brand essence. Well, you then develop ideas, solutions for the brand strategy. You do all the elements of the brand pyramid. You have lots of ideas, and then you have to narrow it down and say, okay, we evaluate all the options, we make a selection, and this is then the brand essence and the brand strategy that we follow. And then you start to implement. You have an implementation plan. Maybe you already have a lot of elements. Maybe you already have a great name. You already have a product that's quite iconic, but certain pieces are still missing. Or maybe you really start from scratch. Right now at Les Ambassadeurs, we're really starting from scratch. Yeah? We're just defining what is the essence of the brand, and then we will start the briefings for the designers, for the jewelry and everything. Yeah? Packaging and so on. Then you make this implementation plan. Well, and of course you want to monitor it all. Once it's all done, you start to market. But it makes sense you will do the next Instagram post anyhow, but make the next one really speak with your brand essence. Yeah? Bring your brand essence to life with your next Instagram post. It doesn't cost more than when you just do something else. And here, and that's something important, is the power of the brief. When you have your brand essence, when you have your brand pyramid, always, when you talk to designers and your agency, always make a very good written brief. And the brand pyramid is always always the beginning of the brief, that they understand this is the brand, that's what we want to stand for. We are Barefoot Luxury, we are Precious Connections, We are the sunshine jeweler. Yeah? Then all jewelry designs need to reflect that brand essence. All the communication around the jewelry needs to reflect that brand essence. So all work that you then receive, you make the brief for the designers, you make the brief for the ad agency to create a print ad or to make a story, an Instagram story. You want to then assess based on the brand essence and on the brand pyramid. Is what they propose really transmitting what you want to say? Is it about barefoot luxury? Is it about precious connections? Does the feeling really come across? And you can make little consumer tests then. You show it around in your family, your friends, people that are probably not immediately in the company. When you see this, does it transport what we want to say? Can you feel it? Always ask, can you feel it? We're about emotions. Well, and then you start with the marketing. And I could now speak 25 more minutes about marketing. We don't have the time. But what's important, today a jewelry brand must above all appear authentic. This brand essence needs to be transported in an authentic way. And you want to tell a differentiated, relevant, and emotional brand story. Tell your story in an emotional way. And this brand story must be seamlessly experienced across all touchpoints. Be it visuals, be it the website, be it social media, be it like what people see in the shop, the display, and also the jewelry piece itself. When you look at it, does it really say what you promise? Does it all make sense? And it is all really seamless. So that's it. I'm open for questions. I hope I was able to give you some insights how you can create a brand that sparkles and shines in the marketplace. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you. Any questions? Comments? Okay, thank you very much for this very clear talk.
Thank you.
Very insightful. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Oh,
sorry.
Questions. Okay.
Apologies.
Thank you for the talk. So I just wanted to ask that since jewelry and diamonds specifically have been previously maybe more in terms of its material value, and then now with the shift towards a more maybe emotional based selling or a more intangible based selling, how do you propose you translate that the sort of brand essence that you spoke about into the jewelry, and then sort of make your entire imprint your entire brand essence on the entire company as a whole, whether it be your pieces, whether it be your marketing, whether it be your social media? How do you sort of streamline that entire thing into your your company's imprintment as a whole?
I hope I understood the question right. You asked for Les Ambassadeurs? Or what, you asked at Les Ambassadeurs or in general?
Just in general.
Well, I hope I understood the question right. I take the example of Tamara Kamoli where we did, we had to move this brand essence away from, all the visuals were about her. She was the model and we wanted to have the feeling of what she portrays as the brand essence. So, barefoot luxury, yeah? And then, of course, how can you bring that down? What is the feeling? What is the world she lives in? So you do the shooting, and all the stories in social media were connected to that. And then in the jewelry, we had the drop, which is the water that represents, where you're on the beach. You had other elements, the beautiful gemstones that have also the colors, the reflection of the water. We try to have just this story all about this barefoot luxury. Does this... Or was it more about diamonds, your question? Okay. Any more questions? Well, good. I'm still around. Oh, there's another question.
Hi, thank you for your talk. I have a question. Is this the way to success for everyone? Because imagine a person coming from a jewelry school. You have no family background in jewelry. You're very passionate, and you've done a little bit of everything, and you don't really know where to go, where to start. And you're doing your Instagram, and you're doing a little bit of something from the beach, something from the forest, and different technologies. So how do you find success when you don't know really where to start, and you have the skill and the craft, but you don't have the finances to create like a strong branding or work with some other companies that can help you, like?
Yeah, well, I mean, the money question is asked a lot. You know, I just had today also a call over here with a client of mine who says, well, I don't really have budget, but he thinks about creating a new booth for next year, and he wants to make a new campaign. And I said, well, but you know, have you now defined your brand essence? No, I don't have, you know, we didn't really work yet together. He said, I don't have the budget, it's not going well. I said, well, why don't we start with that? So for you, it doesn't take any money to do this brand pyramid at home. To really say, with my jewelry that I create, what do I want to portray? You know, what do I want the lady that you produce the jewelry for, if it's men's jewelry, what does the guy, what shall he feel when he wears that jewelry? And then you start to build that. And when you just do some posts and you go into the forest, maybe your brand is about nature, yeah? And the connection with nature. And the power you receive when you go into nature and you recharge. Yeah? Maybe it's about that. Then you tell that story in your posts. Maybe you have another idea, but then you know, and it just starts small. You don't need to have, of course, huge agencies and everything. You start small, but do the work, do the exercise. Really say, okay, what are the adjectives of my brand? You know, what is my brand personality that I want to portray? What is my offering? What is my price point? And then in the end, what is in one sentence the brand that I want to be? Yeah? And this doesn't cost any money. It's a mental exercise, and it takes. Sometimes it's obvious. You have it quickly, and sometimes it really takes some time. Yeah? And it's you know, for instance, I know from the Binder family, this thing with the precious connections happened at home in the kitchen. They were sitting in the kitchen and were talking, and suddenly they had this idea. Yeah? And they use it not only for the B2C brand, they use it for the whole company. Yeah? And you know, and it's a B2B company, so they use that also. The relationship between them and their clients also be a precious connection. Yeah? So it all makes sense in the end. Does that? Yeah?
Thank you very much. And if there's any more questions, I believe, Matthias, you'll still be around for a few minutes.
Yep.
If people are welcome to come and see you.
Okay,
Thank
thanks
you very
a lot,
much
everybody.
again. Thank you.